So my name is Sam Truitt,
I'm Michael Ruby.
and we're here for poetry and 2020 elections. We have a range of poets and ancillary interjections to the poets in the realm of the horizon on which we are. Right now, though, Michael, is it safe?
It is safe, Sam.
Okay. Hallelujah. So this event tonight is somewhat long ways coming, and we're here at the Greenkill Gallery, which is a community peer-to-peer art space with the idea that it's peer-to-peer and that it's got an organic model in which people talk to people, people present work of people, and those people in turn talk to others, and it grows in that manner exponentially, perhaps, but at any rate, whatever the environment will allow. Started by David Schell. David's here. Maybe we'll meet him later. And then, so I want to thank very much David and the Greenkill Gallery. This in part is a further activity within a series of commentaries that Michael and I are curating for Jacket 2, which is the blog hosted by the Kelly House, by University of Pennsylvania, within a warren of marvelous satellite operations within the poetic continuum that are sustaining and vital and important. At any rate, our commentary is called Poetry and the 2020 Elections. This poem kills fascists. And, while we don't advocate naturally any literal killing of fascists, at the same time, it's all explained in our first post, in our introductory post, which I welcome you to visit at jacket2.com. And I also want to thank Bruce and Joanne Weber, who built the insertion question, the burning question, which each of the poets appearing tonight will answer in their own fashion. And I also want to thank for the image for this event and also for our series. Includes a work on paper of collage by Omar Perez entitled American Eclipse. Now, so who we're going to have reading tonight is Brenda Coltis, Christopher Funkhauser, Anne Gorick, Amy King, Sparrow, Edwin Torres, and Laura Hinton. Did I leave anybody out, Michael?
Only the two of us.
That's right. So, Michael, what do you have to say?
Thanks, Sam. Let's start the reading with a poem written by William Carlos Williams in 1927 at the time of the execution of Sacco and Vanzetti. Impromptu, The Suckers. Take it out in vile whiskey. Take it out in lifting your skirts to show your silken crotches. It is this that is intended. You are it. Your pleas will always be denied. You too will always go up with the two guys, scapegoats to save the Republic, and especially the state of Massachusetts. The governor says so, and you ain't supposed to ask for details. Your case has been reviewed by high-minded and unprejudiced observers, like hell they were. The president of a great university, the president of a noteworthy technical school, and a judge too old to sit on the bench. Men already rewarded for their services to pedagogy and the enforcement of arbitrary statutes. In other words, pimps to tradition. Why didn't they choose at least one decent Jew or some fair-minded Negro or anybody but such a triumvirate of inversion? New England aristocracy bent on working off a grudge against you, Americans. You were the suckers. You were the ones who will be going up on the 11th to get the current shot into you for the glory of the state and the perpetuation of abstract justice. The case is perfect against you. All the documents say so, in spite of the fact that it is reasonably certain that you were not at the scene of the crime, shown by better reasoning to have been committed by someone else with whom the loot can be connected and among whom the accomplices can be found. It's no use. You were Americans, just the dregs. It's all you deserve. You've got the cash. What the hell do you care? You've got nothing to lose. You are inheritors of a great tradition, my country, right or wrong. You do what you're told to do. You don't answer back the way Tommy Jeff did, or Ben Frank, or Georgie Washing. I'll say you don't. You're civilized. You let your betters tell you where you get off. Go ahead. This is what was intended from the first. So take it out in your rotten whiskey and silk underwear. That's what you get out of it. But put it down in your memory that this is the kind of stuff that they can't get away with. It is there, and it's loaded.
Bam.
Poet, you who range near and far with words, and what came before words? Attend! What do you reckon the relationship between the poetic continuum and this defining U.S. election?
Tell me when the movie ends.
It's the question.
Wait, no, we're not quite ready.
It's
Wait.
the question.
Just once, I'm sorry. So wait, David, I'm sorry, I'm out of control, as usual. So the burning question, have they seen the burning question? Okay, let's pause so the burning question was made by Bruce and Joanna. We made it with love, tenderly, and really put some effort into it. But due to a technical liability, we can only show it once. So I'm gonna sort of linger up here on stage and present the question orally, and we'll see from Bruce and Joanna later. Now I want to introduce, Bruce, what we're playing, what is the movie, which is a scrolling text of America, a Prophecy by William Blake. This is one of his continental books, along with Europe, a Prophecy, and The Song of Laos, which is Africa and Asia, so Europe, America. This poem, this book, was written in 1793 in Lantham, which is now part of London. And it leads one to believe that he's projecting, like making a prophecy, but it's a slightly different kind of use of that word. The Greek word means something like gift of interpreting the will of gods, although I wrote here the wind of gods, which probably makes as much sense. But what it is for Blake is the revealing of eternal truths and of entering into the visionary, natural phenomena that permeates this universe. And for him, the idea of the person who speaks the prophecy, which for him was the wise perception of how things really are, in his mind was the poet prophet. And it is the process of the overthrow of reason. So The poem itself is dominated by the figure of Orc, or as you learn in the first line, Red Orc, and he is the spirit of rebellion, of revolution, of the overthrow of the tyrant, who in this case is George III, albeit he palms that reference and calls him the King of England, among other things. The importance also of this poem is that it mentions very early on the notion of the pestilence. And it is within the combining of this pandemic that we're in with the tyrant that in some ways has the ring of truth, and that to which Blake points in this poem. So I don't think I have anything more to say except to ask David, with all my pickled heart, to start the America Prophecy, if it hasn't already started, jeepers. And it's going to run over about 5 times through the course of this evening. Is it cued and going? Ready? Amy.
Thank you, Sam and Michael, for inviting me to participate in this reading, this very apropos, timely reading. Much like William Blake, Cesar Vallejo, a Peruvian poet, was very much visionary and into the imagination, the breaking down of reason in favor of, imagination, connecting people through the imagination. He thought poetry should be devoid of all traditional devices, etc. So it really should challenge. So I'm going to read a quick excerpt from a poem by him called "Let the Millionaire Go Naked, Stark Naked." This is by Vallejo. Let us die, wash your skeleton every day, pay no attention to me. Let a bird grasp the despot and his soul, an awful stain. For whoever walks around alone, sparrows for the astronomer, for the sparrow an aviator. Give off rain, give off sun, keep an eye on Jupiter, on the thief of your gold idols. Copy your handwriting in 3 notebooks. Learn from the couples when they speak and from the lonely when they are silent. Give food to the sweethearts. Give drink to the devil from your hands. Fight for justice with your nape. Make yourselves equal. Let the oak be fulfilled. Let the leopard be fulfilled between 2 oaks. Let us be here. Let us feel how the water sails in the oceans. Take nourishment. Let the error be conceived, since I am crying. Accept it, while goats and their young climb along the cliff. Make God break the habit of being a man. Grow up. I am called. I am going back. That felt very much like a message through time to Trump, in a way. This is called "To Honor," sort of on the occasion of Potter's Field being used for the pandemic again. A vasectomy of men gathered on screen today made me think of Lorca's death, his bludgeoning by cop, his star hidden, scared of what's left once the filming ends. I push away the feelings upon recognition. There is no right way to feel at last. I am left with the tulips in my yard that forgot to press up and through since I failed to plant them. And this night is the one before I wake to merge with memories I've read of Lorca holding New York once in the cradle of his journal, in the cushion of his mind, in the kindness of his words, in displacement of the love he saw us through, including the men who fail everyone, reminders to remember the soil and the many who enter in. Frickin' Potter's Field. I want to be the one in kindness, the one who goes high, but I'm rarely kind to myself. I take the blows as I took them in childhood without whimper or glare. I have grown into a voice that holds the violence, reflecting back, and waits. I am not kind in my patience. I am not kind in my work. The violence is not met with the selflessness of women. Deny the woman, deny the smile, hold out the vision, brace for impact. Break up with him. I saw that on a t-shirt and I loved it. Become the hero miner. I want to meet Lilith. I want to lick Grendel's mother. I want to become Medusa, to embody Kali, get sage advice from Saint Olga of Kiev. I'm sorry for mentioning women you don't know yet. As you know, we all know women, even the ones we've not met. They live in service. They live to sacrifice down to the last limb of their giving trees, stumps for asses to rest on. You'll get to know these undiscovered beauties as soon as I become full. 2020 hasn't met 2021 yet, and the multitudes with nothing left to lose. That's good. I just wrote that. Thanks, 2020. Hero has age upon them. How country I went that year I moved to the Catskills, as if Appalachia in my roots was a stone's throw from New York City. I know we only have these bodies for just a little while, and the distance from me growing up with Loretta Lynn's Coal Miner's Daughter and my yee-haw alone on a hill I call my own is also a stone's throw from shorter legs and the length of my shins now. They don't eat grits much here, and the ones I did were cheap mush between what I now call poor people's teeth. The color of my own, a dividing line between time and New York City aesthetics, which gives small comfort when hipsters up for a visit think their street cred and tats rate more than the years between my Georgia to Williamsburg time. No better than their own, now local cemeteries with solar lights indifferent to us all in equal regard, i.e. death don't give a fuck. Female erogenous zone. I am writing this in the nude from my bed. Life can be forced rape, but life is better born by women turned on macro to micro. All wars are fought to kill the female at heart. Look deep. The taking of land is ownership of bodies, of that which sustains, nourishes. Slavery is on the spectrum of subservience to emasculation, subservience in the mutilated body, control of the means of production, the naming and denying of autonomy, the lash and paycheck by everlasting paycheck, masculinity asserted and masculinity provoked. The way the words romance you, the bones a bitter almond, the wind a gnashing cashew at the throat's thorax. If I can't seduce your body, I'll fuck my way to your brain. If unsure, ask me why my skull is still breathing and my lips are on your thighs. I did not map your lingua franca to your torso by accident. In a previous life, I was dismissed for the injury of asking a boring question. Unsure if my sin was the injury of asking or not announcing, I would like for you to have your way with me, as if that was boring too. There is something to learning how romance is a difficult netting, requires a wide cast with pinprick precision rather than broadly speaking, spun poorly, which attracts nothing at first blush. A better way of saying is singing is dying, a humming out, which means we're all death all the time until the sound beats itself out. A sunset, any sunset, is as gentle as the mustache on the woman you love going down. Feel up the light. I swear if how do I make love to the world is wrong, then call me Jesus and crucify me. The day my halo arrived, it was raining. The Lord was reigning. It was all playing through the pain. The Lord was ourselves as reductive strategy, and color me love. Call me queer to explain my irrational crimes of humanity. Sex forgets we were more gatherers than hunting, though we do hunt to fill the void we hold on to as a sign of our depths. Nuts and dandelions make tea and salves from the forests we echo that are no more real than fields of skies behind skies behind skies. But we repeat bury the moon down through our inside layers, our blood of dead supernovas, as strategy, as sinew, as bending reaps anyone becoming, which is still really all of us. Heroes harvesting always other people. You get down on your knees to feel up the light on its way, hurtling from universes away, dying to become us. That's good.
Amy, you who ranged far with words and with what came before words, attend. Attend! Amy, come back, come back, come back to us. What do you reckon the relation between the poetic continuum and this historic U.S. election?
My initial response is burn it down, literally and figuratively. Everything needs to change. And my other is a quote some guy, which is, listen, we mess up, we fail when we don't listen to the poets, when we listen to politicians. I don't know what's happening here. Anyway, that's my answer. Burn it down.
Sorry about that confusion, gang. This is Chris Funkhauser.
All right. Here's an oldie, what has to be said with some updates. It amounts to a summons to vote for Biden. Wow, these past 4 years, what a piece of shit in chief we have had.
Yeah, brother.
No denying he's racist, pussy grabbing, xenophobic, planet killing, homophobic, classist, Nazi loving, traitorous. His mistress is forced to get an abortion. Literal, common, tweet blasting. Tweeted a plug for his suit or a gross, greasy, fell out of a butt response to a terrorist attack or pandemic. Real heavy, bad for America. Islamophobic lies, but he's not backing down. Among us, truly, under the heels of someone who barely pays taxes in this country, he is a stain. And he is an embarrassment to humankind, the largest stain on the underpants of humanity. Distinctive face and coiffure, with a history of making disparaging remarks, freaked out like a little yappy dog with separation anxiety. What a disgrace to America to elect this con man into the highest land in the office in the land, and we are still, yep, it'd be the slow death of pain. Celebrity businessman drawing a line on a lint-filled navel seeking response on CNN, animated by intense hatred, just an embarrassment, a pretty clear message, inherently evil America deserves. An enlarged, pea-spattered snow cone man baby and his eldest son the same. Offensive, ableist, transphobic, classist. Once again, couldn't resist the urge to boast fundamentally an ideology-free narcissist, really fucking stupid, as well as a lying douchebag crybaby, a classless clown, poop emoji hybrid, immortalized in the mobile game Dump Trump. A very sad man who has nothing to live for other than drawing attention to himself. And his crooked-ass family. People should speak up against shitgibbon. Democrats should swear more. Spend his entire life demonstrating for the whole world that he's sexist, hateful, delusional, disingenuous, whiny, really dumb, petty. The same goes for anybody who supports this bastard. Republicans just now realizing. Americans, fight for your freedom again. Vote. I've added an epilogue to this PS. However, to quote Elaine Kahn, something I saw on her Instagram, quote, "I am voting for Biden, but please fuck all the way off with this shit. He's definitely not good enough. He's a fucking disaster. He's a tragedy. He will not do. I'm voting for Biden because I want us to live to fight another day, and that's it, and there's nothing cute about it," unquote. All right. A little soundtrack I'm adding here by Most Serene Congress. It's called Climactic Eco-Respondence. Record is available on Bandcamp. I'm going to switch gears for a moment and read a piece by my favorite presidential candidate ever, the poet Eileen Myles. I like to imagine a country with Eileen Myles as president. I mean, I've read the Paris Manifesto, and I know she would do much to obliterate the political patriarchy that we are faced with throughout history. The poem is from her collection, The Real Drive, which is in a book called Not Me. November. Because I'm sure that nothing lasts, I have to be very sure where I am. I can hear the dripping of the faucet and the cries of little birds outside. And I have to be very sure that I love, because I'll never live like this again, and I'm sure that I love. I'm sure I'm closing in on something. The building isn't making that angle of light for me, but I can see it. It silences the cat, but it doesn't silence me. That's why I let the cat be around. My landlord doesn't think my way. I couldn't be like that. I'm sure that I love. Obviously, my heart lies clenched in my fists. I must be thinking or feeling this way. This poem's bad. It wants to think or tell about how it's felt, but it just seems to beat along between punches and silence. I have to be very sure where I am. I'm telling you so. If it weren't for telling, I'd be left with the plumbing and birds where I am, but I'm telling you so. I thoroughly respect the birds because they're not even listening. I do. I like them a lot for their poverty and lack of thought. I love myself for my love, a dubious gift, and I guess I need those fucking pipes. Simplicity, that's that. I guess I love you and I need you. Love telling you that. I have to be very sure where I am. Listening and waiting. I wish you'd call and tell me something. My landlord wants to know where I'm at, but I'm telling you that nothing lasts. It doesn't silence me, but it silences the cat. I have to be very sure where I am. I'm sorry that George Quasha couldn't be here tonight, and I just wanted to share with you something that he said in his email to us when he had said he couldn't come. Quote, "COVID-19 and Trump separately have threatened life on the planet. Maybe their cohabitation in one body will save it," end quote. And this is my answer to your question.
Well, I was going to ask it, Christopher. Okay. You who range far with words, and what came before words, attend. What do you reckon the relation between the poetic continuum and this historic U.S. election?
Well, Sam, anyone who was at last year's Subterranean Poetry Festival heard me say something like this. these reflections that haven't become any less relevant since then. It's a kind of adaptation of an adaptation of an adaptation, the kind of things poets have been saying since at least the Romantic era. California's on fire. Censorship's always nearby. The economy favors few. And what else will we talk about from the caffeine, from the empire of lust that dominates us? I know we're not here for the commandant's existential bad taste, public inelegance, ignorance by option, lie as a tactic, or the delay of ideas. Crass men, cronies of the commandant, speak loudly and pride themselves on being rude without composure. They think they can do everything and rub crap in the face of others. There is no ethics that fits them. Cheating is okay. Assaulting is okay. Kindness, education, delicacy are all sissy stuff. Despise science because no one can be better known than them. They're rough on the tongue and flatulent throughout all its holes. They all use religion to be hypocritical and brutality to be respected. Lousy, they hate art because they don't want to have to understand anything. Hate difference because they don't have a shred of originality in their veins. Sure of themselves, think psychology has no need and excuses are not offered. Speak what you think, especially when you don't think. Talking head lectures, no shame on their faces. Commandant, now supposedly ill, cements the backyard and tiles the garden, wants everyone the same, singing the anthem, likes catchphrases, kicks the dog, whips the horse, and kills little birds. You know what karma is. They want to be authority, to be able to issue cards, build walls, want to win, see the others lose, want to be invited to spit on the plate, want to flatter the mighty and mock the needy, want to walk armed, want to take advantage of everything, attack like hyenas and hide like rats. Poets, who might be part of saving this world, forbid this from happening. They do not, cannot, will not let unaccountability occur. Do not permit commandant's verbiage to be all there is. Thus, supreme goodness tonight to be in the company of an array of writers connecting the tribe to the tribe of poets who give us higher language of life, help us see and experience the world with range and force of purpose. Thank you, Sam, Michael, Greenkill. Great to be here.
Thank you, Chris. So I'm going to read some things now. I'm going to read from work I've been doing recently, and then I'll read from the new book, Tokyo at Toto. This new book I'm thinking would be called OS, O-S, and then colon. So OS has some, this resonance of operating system, but it has other meanings, other not so secret meanings, which I recommend you investigate. OS, songs that begin, middle, and or end mostly in the only way to freedom is song. Yeah, I've never done a subtitle before, so I'm pretty excited. And then these are some of them that I pulled, from this thing that's kind of tender, not really finished, but nevertheless insistent. We're stuck between Jerusalem and Athens, Socrates and Moses, jumping up and down, playing double Dutch, with their skirts raised and lead and gold ropes in rhythm between them sounding off, and all the Cayes like Belfast's ghosts, if the dead lose their intersecting pulse and converging mass at all points, one road before one, even if one in circles, even if it's against a wall, moving with a tree thrust out a hole, you can see through rebar the floor that someone has dusted a part of off, and under broken roof, under a tarp made of camouflage materials, made a hexagram to sing of being on the only way to freedom is song, in the sound of utopia. With what is and what isn't equally dividing what rhymes with living so that you don't know which way to go without it, or what to do with what doesn't hide, with no place to go. And all our words fit inside, pinching, if just to bob in a trance, to dance to and up to yours, fellow travelers, to the one place we all meet and never leave alone. The only way to freedom is song. At some point, some man must have stood here as you are now, about to crack open a six-pack before this stone wall and lawn and magic you are all at. You are at all. Magic, you are at all. And if you are, remember nothing alone lasts as long as you hold like a breath. A life releases and leaves you in awe. The only way to freedom is song. As out the window I watch a wind lift leaves and whirl them around once in air or itself. Why do anything, or all I do is repeat after me, I don't know why I do anything, when what is really the matter is that we are at all. Or the only way to freedom is song, wind and leaves and sudden rise breezing between them, certainty is the shape of, and some cars, a house and family in a pattern that's around and to which I'm tied and briefly amplified, from within which to survey the hurdle, how to give every earthling enough to pitch a tent within consciousness in, and can only get there by deep sixing acquisitive culture. As Malcolm X says, all we want is a hut beside the river or beside a mountain or point past the jetty, furiously making with whatever near at hand. The worker's cart pulled by 4 dimensions, an immediate enormity. And then I'm going to read from Tokyo at Toto, which chronicles a sojourn of, I don't know, like inside 2 weeks, but only about 10 days in Tokyo at Toto. And so I'm going to read the beginning of this, and then I'll read something later that I don't know what yet, and then we'll move to the burning question phase of this reading. And I'll let you look at it. See? So the original notebook is reprinted, is super saturatingly there, present with the words that they reflect. So there's an ad, almost square, framed in chrome, covered by plastic sheet, beat to hell in the open, on a corrugated wall, of an open mouth, of teeth and upper gums, almost perfect, and you can see the darker pink tongue stilly cleft at its axis as it is open, lips. I sense lipstick or gloss, a bit of nose and nostrils above the gate of the teeth. On the boulevard, a cop car, its cherries and berries flashing. I see through a light mesh grate on a platform, hook right down a residential street, and all the cars passing, pausing, or parked, tagged with dazzling patches of sunlight, reflected off hoods and roofs. And I am in one, in my great window, fingers in the mesh, holding on, wondering why keep going, clawing by bus and train and plane, let alone hands toward Tokyo by way of Peking, hoping I may cop the day pass to walk the periphery of T Square as though circa half a world away, some exegetical, existential geometry by which to put into a conspiracy of ads, when what we really need are minuses, less, sticking straight up, though not a wall, as what spills through them, fingers, flesh, white flesh against steel mesh, or out the mouth of the security snake put in place to strangle what I have just passed through, shaken, as even as I carry no contraband or record or exposure, I swear, I am at heart a criminal, and so watch my step and follow the rule to not become a problem and help people as much as I am able to get through the wall, or maybe me too keep taking away thought by thought, grooving to the terminal countdown, ethno-acoustico, atmospheros hum, all below the muzak, what colleagues, friends, and family form, these hills, knots, and hillocks that are probably mountains of sound shapes that seem to correspond to those through whom they speak, what speaks them, with the sun out the slated wall of glass behind me, at the bar, low in the sky, across the tarmacs and the fins and tails of planes, the air like the dirty martini the bartender is pouring. And it's sad to report those of us alone are all enscreened, untalking, scrolling or tapping, swiping, staring into cell phones in a Borgesian leap, in some escape, just like I am on this page, or rescue mission, if there were anything to leave or retrieve, our collective ennui. Ennui is like an emotion that we used to have. Ennui, don't you miss ennui? Like, oh, I'm bored. Hey, how am I doing on time?
Maybe one more minute and then the burning question.
Or maybe skip the garden that is very ancient and stay here on the sun path, but trudge on. And you really have to wonder if trying to make the garden is worth the trip, and better to get a contemplative jag and relax into her body. Everyone has a cell in. Could there be a garden worth leaving the river for? That's the Sumida River, parenthetically. As a European broad on a bike, saddling up knocks my tail that caused my rhythm to jerk. And I'm walking through the city with a bag of trash in my armpit as the light is dying, as suddenly as my GPS says I've walked in a wrong direction for 13 minutes, as I must have been right up on its arse a moment ago and failed to connect. So I'm tired, and maybe I will make the garden at dusk, or I will make it or out standing under a street light in an alley now.
Poet, you who range near and far with words and with what came before words, attend. What do you reckon is the relationship between the poetic continuum and this defining U.S. election?
Yeah, actually the poetic continuum has nothing to do with this election since, it came well before, an election. It's the poetic continuum lived before language and will in fact outlive English itself. And yeah, I mean, the poetic continuum per se is about a potentiality that is inherent to the universe and that we can access and out of which we can make things. And I was trying to write poetic continuum, broader human possibility, revolution of integration with the poetic continuum, which is really about the inhabitation of the breath, each your own, to make like knots in a rope, signals we each, in our own measure, may mark and leave behind, that another there may climb higher toward the only way to freedom is song, as it happens, which we all knew. And, actually, this is what I wanted to talk about is, I don't know if you can see this at home. I think you might be able to see it at home now, And what I was thinking about is like one thing that poetry and its relative incarnation in the realm of words has to do with consciousness. The poetic continuum inherently does. But then language, in this realm of language, as a subsection of the poiesis, is a consciousness of words and being true to itself and to its set of operations. And it has something to do with correcting, of making true, of keeping it alive. And out of that, I thought to interrogate the notion of left and right. This is one of these tropes that we trot out and we think we know. It has to do with the French Revolution and the National Assembly, which, those favoring the National Assembly on the left and the Royalists on the right, and it's completely archaic and silly. So I have this new thing called open for that which is left, and close, C-L-O-S-E, for that which is right, per se, and then consolen, for that which is in between, which I sort of see as a sort of figure like this. And I'm going to try to run through quickly a few things, because I think I'm blowing through time, although our timekeeper skedaddled. But close is this way. And it has something to do with precedent, with the past, with being bound, rigid. It has to do with yin. It's tight. It's huddled. It's also left margin, that sense of huddling to the left margin within a poetic script. It means to conserve. So not everything that's close is bad. For example, I feel a profound need to conserve Earth. I gotta stop. This is the scoop. I'll post this online. Open, close, and then consolen, which is the area of mingling, of the myriad, of back and forth, crosshatches, midriffs, and I believe dominates, rules poetry. Brenda Coltis also does.
Thanks, Sam, and it's great to be here. Notes for a tea. Take them a cake or fruit on a stick. I eat out of the jar and scrape the skin of an orange and take my time to read handwritten notes posted on the wall. Be kind, they said, sticking their signs in the lawn. Be nice or leave, said the bartender, and I spit on all the paper napkins, but I'm always kind to the cashier. In the woods, I built an altar, not like in church, more like in nature or in head shop. I carefully place rolling papers and a glass pipe in harmony. There are teas for sleeping, and some teas will bring you wealth. Would you drink a tea for true love? Do you like or make potions? I collect bits of paper, cast runestones, read cards, and lay out my best silk. To my loves and my beloveds, be kind and be akin, be righteous, be soft and be firm. Be pleased with yourself. Inside of our kindness, which we wore as garments, as in tunics, not jumpers or dresses, our cups overflow with coins. Our love invented an animal. Cave. My soul lowered by a thread into a cold lake inside a flooded mine shaft 5 stories down. It felt like a color, not a sensation of temperature. If it were a color, it was chartreuse. I called for a UFO to show itself, and it presented as a plasma screen in the sky. A sensation like inhabiting a sealed can of wet and plastered grape leaves. It felt like moonlight inside a paint can. Please keep a lid on it, lest it evaporate, lest it dissolve, like cave paintings destroyed by human breath. That day, I felt a handprint on the inside. It felt like bruised ribs. Bald eagles. Hot tissue paper in the wind, like a flag was raised from the dirt, and the flag of dirt had powerful feathers. At first, it was like ice skating into a watery hole beneath the dirty flag roosting on serpent's arms. That feeling lasted all day. My forehead felt useless and hard, like a turquoise ring locked inside a vault. Log cabins. My tongue tastes like lime built up in a cooking pot, and I use a mirror inside an abandoned log cabin to comb my hair, which is as dead and long as antlers. My tears fell like broken glass on the ground that no one bothered to clean up, and somehow I arrived in something smaller than a car, and the wooden wheels were like secretly eating in a museum or library. Drawing. I began to draw long lines like hoarfrost on a pencil tip, and my fists felt like a hand grenade, like writing on sandpaper and like melting my fingerprints on ice. My neighbor's boots are a rough tongue on carpeting while our doors bounce slightly. It felt like the time a man offered to tell me a Viking saga. Was he speaking in code? It felt like sleeping under a silver mylar blanket on a bed of pine needles in the open. And sex. Afterwards, my thighs and ass felt strong and wild, like the dappled horse buttocks inside a Leonora Carrington painting. Riding in a new car. Riding in a new car is like climbing the devil's tower. The car tastes like luxury coffee, and exiting through the passenger side is like shopping with credit cards of platinum. We ride and talk, trying to catch a glimpse of the devil's nest. It is like returning to a beehive, but full of voices, and it stings to be near language. Noise. Cerullean white or like library books on loan, I felt unable to fit my noises into a handkerchief. Withheld sneezing and avoided catnip, like an arm slipped and bounced down on spinning vinyl, like forks and knives cause cosmic disturbances. The silence of that hour hung in the air, a glass ornament. Western landscapes. My neighbor's voice spoke about the surface management of a common mammal, and the place names tasted bittersweet. It seemed as if a map engraved itself on my back, and every visible rut became a ballad of local disasters, and monuments erupted from the memory of my spleen or other organ meats. There was a house occupied by white settlers. This house was made of wood and hewn from a single log. Flying over snow. Near a small city, the snow became brown, and fear wove a weighted blanket of blood inside my mouth. Inside the cabin, coffee cups, stir sticks, napkins, and cookies on the tray top, satellite TV, office in the air. Rearrange the drinking vessels, compose a steel light below gray rocks and ice. Icelandic air smells of curdled milk or codfish. Greenland snow creased like complex elephant skin. Outside the airship, -54 Celsius. Sea waves, stitched quilt batting. Blue of the online flight tracker, a flat blue wash around currents and landmass over Newfoundland and Greenland, the deep blue hours of our bodies over bodies of water. Deepest blue on the screen is the Labrador Sea, a marginal sea, an alleyway between Baffin Island and Greenland. Labrador is not to labor, not to work one's way across the sea, or not a laboratory for experimenting in remote territories. Rather the name of a dog species who roams the Canadian arm that reaches toward Greenland. Pushing face against portal to look for human habitation for buildings and traffic, seatmates, a young couple, maybe Arabic and maybe lovers. I had the sense that once on land they would split up and perhaps they had never seen snow. Will myself to think of ice floes, not a Basquiat's doorway of layered graffiti and posters, big lips painted over the door, and do not think of those who pause there to absorb paint, heroin, fame clouds like traces of a David Bowie portrait on the rails of a gate on Bond Street and on the subway posters of the 6 train. Icelandic air, an airborne Viking ship, 970 kilometers an hour over the eastern edge of Greenland. I study the screen and see the globe as blue, green, and white with edges of light surrounding land masses. The airplane icon trail is a solid line of where we've been, and the future is a perforated line that remains to be neatly folded on the table's edge and torn. Bitten edge of continental plates wet with plant life, all is a fissure, crevice, gap, slip, portal, plummet, abyss. Stoker, steam rising from the flat earth of lava fields, scored porous rock behind a chain, muddy hole belches, God's guts. I come from the Americas, from a valley of mound builders, from artifacts that are mine and not mine. A mammal of the Americas, hunting morels, firewood, and berries. Or is it a matter of gods, the kind you make, the kind you worship, the kind you appease? Gods built from a fiery void are the gods who crawl out of the earth. I'm a European, but I come from the Americas, casting rune stones from row 23, seat F, for safe passage over the North Atlantic. No one passes without an offering, passport, and change of clothes. The Inuit are the only ones who can see the mother of the sea, of the North Sea. Maybe the world's tree is a trade route. The pulp of the world's tree is a paper cup sitting on the tray of road 23, seat F. In flight over belief systems, the names of the gods change and cannot be murdered, only transformed. Even slaughtered into bits, an eyeball becomes a sun, or a toe becomes a volcano. Severed fingers become lakes, falling tears become waterfalls. Buried setting up in a boat, and the boat is the longhouse, and the longhouse is the hall, and the entry to other worlds is through the keyhole. Sorceress's white lead-painted face, robed in a cloak of blue cloth, wearing pouches of animal organs and herbs, and her belly is filled with pellets of fat and ash. We in row 28 are perfect for delivering a tribute, dropping coins, flesh, roots, and herbs, effigies for our shadow selves. Buried inside a longboat filled with magic amulets, gallbladder, spleen, heart, and gizzards of animals, and with a horse's bridled head, beloved head. I have not arrived on a strange sled pulled by dogs on an ice floe, not chasing a monster that I made, not chatting with deckhands at sea. Seats upright, devices off, prepare for landing on an island, still being born.
Thank you, Brenda. Poet, you who range near and far with words and with what came before words, attend. What do you reckon is the relationship between the poetic continuum and this defining U.S. election?
I think that like poets and politicians are masters of language. And one is to obscure and one is to uplift, to be true to human nature, to be true to the best in us. I think that poets have to steal the power back from politicians.
Thank you, Brenda. When I was driving over here today, I scared off a bald eagle eating carrion on the road. I'm going to take that as a sign. I'm going to read the last two poems from my new book, The Star-Spangled Banner, from Station Hill Press. Thank you, Station Hill. Each poem uses the 81 words of the song. Voices at the end of election night on November 9, 2016. Oh, it's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. Say, hoping for a miracle, you know? Can James Comey was the difference. They worked that email thing, and it worked. See, the Clintons did a bad job defending themselves. Oh my God, AP called Pennsylvania. The boy, what a flop, huh? What a choke. Dawn's, this is a massive, incredible failure. Early getting hacked had a bit to do with it. Light, we've got Heineken, we've got Modelo. What beer's in the bucket and wine's over there? So we're currently pouring a Chardonnay and a Rioja. Proudly free bar for the first hour, then cash bar after that. Anybody want to offer a toast? Hailed, they just gave Trump Wisconsin. We got beer, we got wine, bourbon, the time to go. I'm getting sick of the world. Twilight's sick of life, you know? Last, this is the shit that death washes away. Gleaming, my daughter is really upset. She's like throwing up. Here's what I just wrote my daughters. Broad girls, now you know what real failure is. Stripes, what I felt in 1980, 84, 88, 2000, and 04. And this is worse. This is so worse. Bright, may things go better in the rest of our lives. Stars, you know what we died from, Dave? Though I think we raise a glass to the most spectacular coverage of the most amazing presidential election, perilous, and we continue to drive this semi down the road, night and change all the wheels at the same time. Or we've done amazing turns, we've made a difference, and it's been a really, really wild ride. Ramparts, and I think that we all deserve a little tipple. We don't get to rest, watched, because there's so much more to do. But I think we can take a moment to reflect on the fact that 18 months ago, gallantly, there was something like 18 Republican candidates streaming, and one of them was Donald Trump. And there was a coronation festival being held for Hillary Clinton. And we've done a lot of real journalism, rockets and real skepticism and real cynicism. Read, and I know we fought hard on all those stories all the way through. Glare, but I think all of us and all the reporters we worked with will look back on it and say we did the right thing. Bombs, because look what happened, right? Bursting, we weren't incredulous and we weren't too credulous. And we walked down the middle path as much as we could, and that was the right path to be on. So thank you all for helping get us this far, proof, and for continuing to help us the rest of the way. Cheers through, the single thing we died from, Dave, the Bill Clinton getting on that fucking plane. Night that prevented Loretta Lynch from stopping Comey. That Comey, Weiner, Huma, Bill getting on the plane, it's all in there. That's where the loss is. Flag, when Wiener blew up in the mayoral race, was I said, you can't have people like them around you. Still, it's just like when Obama picked Comey. There, I said, we could end up dying from this. Oh, hopefully people will realize what a terrible decision it is. Say and stop being such racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic assholes. Is anyone calling cabs? I'm tempted to just flag one. That I don't even want to go outside. Star Bill Clinton getting on the plane, Dave. Spangled because Lynch could have blocked Comey otherwise. Banner, you're just going to have to wait for the old white people to die. Yet, this isn't going to last forever. Tell your daughters, wave by the time they're our age. It'll be a lot different. Or, so what was the killer, Dave? The president-elect, Donald Trump. Land, you think Sanders would have beat him? That's an interesting question. I'm not sure. I don't think this country would elect somebody that liberal. Free. So Dave, the killer, not one thing? And they're saying Trump's gonna speak soon. Okay, I gotta go. I just got to the end. Home, as Mike Pence comes on stage, we're such fucking losers. We need better players. It's time to call it quits, brave, and devote the rest of my life to poetry. Which, of course, I didn't do at that time. And now for the last poem in the book. Oh, failure, say national, can generational, you personal, see my? By your, the his, dawns her, early hour, light there. What failure, so my, proudly her, we generational, hailed national. At our, the his, twilight's personal, last your, gleaming failure. Whose failure, broad there, stripes generational, and there, bright your, stars national. Through personal, the hour, perilous his, fight her. Or my, the national, ramparts his, we there, watch generational. Were her, so my, gallantly your, streaming failure. And failure, the personal, rockets our, red your, glare his. The national, bombs generational, bursting her, impersonal, air my. Gave failure, proof there, through our, the her, night your. That personal, our national, flag our, was there, still my, their failure. Oh, failure, say personal, does his, that generational, star her, spangled national, banner your, yet his, wave generational? Or personal, the there, land my, of our, the hour, free personal, and my, the your, home her, of his, the generational, brave failure.
Michael, you who range far with words, and what came before words, attend. What do you reckon the relation between the poetic continuum and this historic U.S. election?
Right now, Sam, we are in a condition of failure. The big question is that going to continue or even worsen, or is it going to be reversed? We don't know the answer. And so, we are in a condition of great uncertainty as well. This sounds like fertile emotional ground for poetry. if not for poets themselves. Our next reader is Anne Gorick.
So, hello. In these pandemically challenged times, I'm going to start out by reading a poem by Susan Howe. I have been quoting this poem with a dear friend of mine for the last 30 years. We reference it all the time. And so I'm going to read it to you. It's from Susan Howe's Articulations in Sound, Form, and Time. Loving friends and kindred, when I look back, so short in charity and good works, we are a small remnant of signal escapes, wonderful in themselves. We march from our camp a little and come home, lost the beaten track and so river section dark all this time. We must not worry how few we are and fall from each other, more than language can express. Hope for the artist in America and etc. This is my birthday. These are the old home trees. So I'm gonna read a few poems from a series that I've been working on that's been roughly the length of the Trump presidency. Basically, I started writing these in April of 2017, and I do one of these a day. So what I do is I make poems out of your Facebook posts, and I edit them and play with them and add to them. And then I come up with these final pieces. I've written over 1,000 of these so far. It's an American gigapanorama. April 1st, 2020. It's a sunny day in Germland. I was on my bike 2 hours today, which equals a Valium, 3 joints, chocolate. Remain creatively afraid. Tattoo artists, hairstylists, barbers, bartenders, waiters, waitresses are all in the same soul crush. Let there be light. Summer might be soft and vibrantly patterned with free shipping and exchanges. Seeing all the fake news about dolphins fakely returning to the Venice canals makes me imagine the Disneyland animatronics taking back Disneyland right about now. Here's Amelia, almost like she's the Love Shack itself. It turns out that we have not only a ladies' hairdresser in our neighborhood, but also a kindergarten called Urania. Give me your beautiful, crumbling heart. If you're like me and you haven't been able to cry yet, this might unlock it for you. The upgraded abundance and wealth codes for the next phase of planet Earth will be the inner tantric yogas. El secreto, the impossible nature of separation. Sabrina, I'm still on the bottom of yesterday, the little cuttings that take. May 1st, 2020. We're rarely apart these days. I used to notice people wearing masks. Now I notice those who don't. Does anyone know how to get whiskey stains out of a mattress? Asking for a friend. It's the 1st of May in France, Lily, or I mean Muguet, a translucence, the day of giving bouquets of lily of the valley. Red nest, a blind, embossed, buffed by our beating heart. I'm told you're an oriental bee hawk moth. I would hope you know I care, even if I did not have that new reaction emoji. I hate that little MDMA lobotomy maggot. I'm in 13th century Asian steppe mode, all out of bubblegum and looking westward. A 5-year-old girl from Upshur County finds a massive 11-inch morel mushroom. Sometimes, when you wake up, the mailman arrives with a bag of happiness in a delicate cloud of tall frou-frou transformed into a degradation of hand-embroidered gold threads, plus sky blue, the kind of blue with flying in it. June 30th, 2020. Playing the language with these recent fragments, I need a stronger word than fuck. Social media is how they've kept us all busy, an echo chamber with resort-level feels without the resort-level prices. Exactly how much Adderall does it take to overdose? Asking for a nation, thanks. Our ice cold will take you on fruitful aromatic travel, but why should the Congolese come and comfort us now? Everything I do now feels superfluous. I took a leaf off a eucalyptus tree to get tattooed to memorialize the afternoon, but the leaf has vanished. When an expressive code has to translate content in a constant unfolding, I think you and Bill might get a little kick out of this flirting with science. Rural night, Lancaster County. Pink is this morning's favorite color. The pandemic has put a strain on the survival of this little dream. The now what? October 3rd, 2020. So, I know the world is exploding, but the Great British Baking Show started again. Put rhubarb in everything. Women are maddeningly beautiful today in a way I rarely notice. Like autumn leaves, they popped up everywhere, unpoliced. I just did a phone banking happy hour for Biden and Harris. If you're thinking about volunteering in this way, I can reassure you that far fewer people told me to fuck off than I expected. My Lightroom classic has gone on the fritz. This is possibly the whitest thing ever flogged in my feed. I click through, and I'm still not sure what it does. The LL Bean stripping basket. One of those indecipherable items. I believe it is for fly fishing. Looks a little like a bedpan. At least Trump rallies are being canceled. Thousands and thousands of lives will be saved under this interrogation moon. It has been the subject of countless studies, and all the smartest people know fireflies don't get COVID. They have too much magic in them to get anything. I like it when words admire the moon. I'm gonna read you one more poem by somebody else. So it's by Lawrence Ferlinghetti, and my friend Lee Gould sort of turned me on to this poem. He wrote it in 2007. He's 101 now, so he knows all the things. So, yeah. Oh, and by the way, my husband is voting for the first time in his life. And when I read him this poem, he loved it. So I'm reading this for Peter tonight. Pity the Nation by Lawrence Ferlinghetti. Pity the nation whose people are sheep and whose shepherds mislead them. Pity the nation whose leaders are liars, whose sages are silenced, and whose bigots haunt the airwaves. Pity the nation that raises not its voice except to praise conquerors and acclaim the bully as hero and aims to rule the world by force and by torture. Pity the nation that knows no other language but its own, and no other culture but its own. Pity the nation whose breath is money and sleeps the sleep of the too well-fed. Pity the nation, oh, pity the people who allow their rights to erode and their freedoms to be washed away. My country, tears of thee, sweet land of liberty.
And you who range near and far with words, and what came before words, attend. What do you reckon the relation between the poetic continuum and this historic U.S. election?
So the great thing about poetry is that it helps us think multiply and multivalently, and artists and poets and musicians might be the only people that can actually process how crazy this has all been. So I was basically raised by a narcissistic sociopath. So the Trump presidency is pretty much like my childhood, and I'm like completely trained up for this. A narcissistic sociopath will breathe up all of your oxygen. So it's really important to turn away from them and just live. And it's even better if you can live well. We have to create that Peter Lamborn Wilson temporary autonomous zone, our own personal anarchist jurisdictions. Poetry and art and music help us do this. So I'm pretty much scared all the time lately. My husband is immune compromised, and my workplace, it turns out, is more Trumpian than I ever thought possible. With the upcoming election, we have so much pressure and so little agency. And the only thing we can do at this point is make sure we vote and make sure there's a second part of this. We have to make sure that our votes are counted. And I think it's really important to talk across whatever line and talk across whatever division we have between us, because that's the only way this is going to get any better. I was talking with a dear friend this week, and we were playing this awesome thought experiment called, what if nothing else goes wrong in 2020 and everything is fine? So we just howled over that. It was revolutionary.
Do I go now? Okay. I'm Sparrow. I don't know if that's clear. I'm reading from my new book. It's called Trump Verse. Alta Books. Trump Verse. Alta Books. Alta means old in Yiddish, and I am pretty old in Yiddish. ALTE Books, in case you're trying to buy it for a mere $10. So I'm going to read it kind of sequentially, not all of it. The first poem is based on the Bodhisattvic vow. The Bodhisattva is kind of the saint of Buddhism, the equivalent of a saint. So the Bodhisattva really makes these 4 vows, and I adapted them pretty closely for this poem. Trump-era Bodhisattvic vow. Republicans without number, I vow to convert them all. Anxieties and hatreds, I vow to overcome them all. True political analyses, I vow to learn them all. The path of heroes, I vow to walk. This is a poem called A Quotation I Invented. When a civilization declines, celebrities become emperors. Tacitus. I really invented it, but I attributed it to Tacitus. The art of the deal. Trump wins, everyone else loses. This is a poem called Axiom. Axiom. Occasionally, Americans must re-fight the Civil War. Now is one of those fucking times. Trump-era haiku. Democracy is disappearing like a spring cloud. This is called political analysis. 1/3 of the USA is ready for Hitler. 1/3 of the USA hates Hitler. 1/3 is undecided. This is called Trump's soliloquy. Love is overrated. I prefer hatred. The liberals wake up in the morning and think of me. They go to sleep at night, cursing me. You fall in love, and 6 months later, you forget the person, or you're married, which is the same thing. I prefer hatred. Trump sonnet. Most of my friends refuse to say his name, as if it were an indelible curse, sucking the kindness from a room, or worse. And I know what they mean. We feel ashamed, as Americans, to have birthed such a monster. Racism exists within our psyche, yes, but we never empowered it knowingly. Alone in a posh spa, Republicans might make a few crude jokes and laugh dryly, but in public they feigned humanitarianism. It pained us liberals to hear the words Trump spoke at rallies, even before he became our leader. There, I said the evil name. This is a poem called 41%. 41% of Americans like having a crazy president. They see it as revenge. This is called the Trump administration. Those who don't read Alice in Wonderland are condemned to repeat it. Scary vision. The eye above the pyramid on the dollar bill is closing. Question. Trump calls real news fake news, but does he dare to call real poetry fake poetry? This is a poem called Remember. Without racism, Trump is just a fourth-rate stand-up comic. I'm going to read this. It's called On Trump's Fear of Mexicans. His panic is Hispanic. Wish. If only a 9-word poem could stop Trump. This is called Miranda Warning. You have the right to remain silent while Trump starts a nuclear war. This is called Dear Donald Trump. In this poem, I throw feces in your face, though unfortunately in real life, I have not yet done so. This is called prayer. Each morning, Trump prays to Satan, Lord, increase my rage and contempt. This is called On Stupidity. I don't mind having a stupid president. If Trump were an illiterate socialist, I'd love him. This is called Trump, Father and Son. When Donald Trump was a child, his father would beat him mercilessly every Thursday, shouting, "You must be strong. Never weaken. I don't want a sissy for a son. I want a man, a man, a man." Each time he repeated "a man," Frederick Christ Trump would punch his young son's face. It's not a misprint. Trump's father was really named Frederick Christ Trump. This is a poem called Melania. Melania is a nickname. Her full name is Melancholia. This is called Trapped. Trump blundered into the White House, and now he can't escape. Like a moose trapped in a shopping mall. Queer theory. If we must build a 2,000-mile wall, let's make it pink. This is called Apology. Just because I hate Trump doesn't make me his superior. I'm just as much of an idiot as he is. This is called No More Trump. Obsessing on Trump, hating him or loving him, is destroying our nation. That's why I will write no more poems about Trump, except this one. Is it time for me to stop?
Sparrow.
Ah,
Sparrow.
yo.
You who range near and far with words, and with what came before words, attend. What do you reckon the relation between the poetic continuum and this historic U.S. election?
The leader of our country wants to foment a race war so he can win re-election. Also, he just likes race wars. He wants absolute power because his mother did not respect him. It's an old story, very common among the Hittites and the Akkadians. Nonetheless, it is the bounden duty of every poet, or any poet with a conscience, to fight him. I happen to have the type of poetry that can easily be political. Single sentences written in ordinary English, full of what some people call humor. I prefer to call it inferential aggression. So I write them. It's much cheaper and less hazardous than organizing an assassination plot. Am I allowed to say that?
This poem I started writing about a year after the election. And the prologue is called An Uncontained Spectacle Now Playing in Discreet Theaters. 2 quotes from my friend Susan M. Schultz, who wrote, "I want to write an honest sentence. The massacre at Mosul takes place outside our camera lens. Even within it, there's nothing to see." And then from Dante's Inferno, Speak will I of the other things I saw there. Descend the rings. You saw things there in the middle of a global melodrama, in the horror in medias res, in honor of the genre. You stare into space. You see nothing and everything. It's a discrete theater outside the lens, the game of human violence. Your malignant narcissist builds a 2,000-mile wall, kissing the world's political tyrants. Kills an Iranian general on a Baghdad tarmac to brag about it at Mar-a-Lago. Chants, lock her up, with jeering crowds about the only female presidential candidate. Latina and Muslim congresswomen survive death threats. Police kill black people to be punished with a desk job. African refugees float on tiny boats in the Mediterranean, drown because they are rejected at every port. Syrian refugees hole up in a former northern Greece toilet paper factory, which becomes a prison. Bee and insect populations collapse from pesticide exposure. Plastic bags spin a Central Pacific whirlpool, their microscopic bits grown inside crustaceans deep down in Mariana's Trench. Holes in Greenland's glacier pour water faster than scientists can measure. Antarctic ice sheets the size of a nation break into icebergs floating the southern seas. You sit. You are distanced at your console screen from yourself. What you see and what you don't see is loaded with plutonium milk. You are inside Cassini. You are the bomb. You will rain down on Saturn on your house of tin as you begin this long descent, drawing an elliptic through the rings. Your aging woman's sagging breasts drop down your console panel. Your rockets lack engine boosters. You sail the abyss, blown about in the solar system's outer storm. The form is seducers and flatterers, the rings of liars and bigots, in which you find a certain hell mired in a strange chemistry. Don't look upside down your phantom ship. You will write this script, the suicide note in your mind. So this is an epic farce. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has been elected president of the United States, and historically, this is true, Cassini, the NASA spaceship, was cycling Saturn's rings, preparing to drop the gases of its gases on the heavy planet. It circles Saturn's gyrotonic rounding movements. It's playing Ring Around the Rosie with the Karma teacher. On board with you is your lover and your daddy figure, Walter Cronkite. Along for the ride is Glinda the Good Witch, in charge of keeping your 1960s bubble hair intact. You sink deeper and deeper into the rings. You enter a new dark wood. This Dante-esque pattern are rings, and they ring like a hallelujah chorus. Your spaceship of tin is spinning, ringing the rings in descent to human madness. So we observe Walter Cronkite announcing that JFK is dead, and we blame it on commercial television. Then we get to the ring of toxic ice, or the making of Tiny Titan, and we have these quotes from NASA literature on Cassini, the spaceship. Researchers found evidence of a toxic ice, a hybrid ice in the floating clouds high above the southern pole of Saturn's largest moon. A new complex chemistry was occurring in this moon, which was named Titan for its vast size. He believed he was a Titan. You call him tiny. He believed he was a god. NASA, a strange cloud formation began covering its gigantic stratosphere. This complexity of the chemistry overcomes America. Beyond or below, you enter this new wood. Swipe the plastic pass into yourself, take you to your leader. NASA, this arrangement of chemicals is invisible to the human eye. Harvey Weinstein greets you at the entrance wearing his bathrobe, nude, his dongle dangling. He throws you on the bed. Glenda says, it's all in your head. You are not glamorous or inside sex. Sex is Tyrannus Rex, remarks Glenda. Glenda says, you have a pretty little head. Gender doesn't matter. Walter's honesty is the ground of gravitas. He's serious about the news. He doesn't report Harvey's rompous room. Flying to the toxic moon on the CBS Nightly Study of Human Violence, this everyman conservative think tank accelerates your darkness, approaching toxic ice. For the sake of television, Glenda is shrink-wrapping her blonde mop into a cap, plops into the chair, wearing lime green curlers, made in China, but sold by the Kresge Company in Ohio, where you used to sneak a look at Playboy. You were too young yet to sleep in Chinese silk eye masks. Delivered by Amazon Prime, hiding your view of the text, you will find yourself delivered on time. Walter assures you he's keeping an eye on you. On your waxing moon movie, suddenly he shouts out, the Electoral College is speaking. You try to wake Glenda from her perennial doze. I'm sleeping, she says, fuck off. Turning over into the silk mask is Glenda's blind eye. The landscape of this nightmare, how many women voted and lost? Far side of the toxic moon, you shake up her snooze button. Wake up, Glenda. Titan grows big, as if a shadowed nothingness. He just took over the ship. You never traced the shallows of a Titan moon before. You feel like the Wicked Witch, melting, full of sugar or complex chemistry or Melania ice. You never knew a tiny Titan could be heralded President of the United States. You look backward, everything is dead. The toxic moon atmosphere is full of stink. The toxic ice clouds make the ship wiggle and shake in the wake. You are sailing waves of foulest creation. But time jumps before the dream. Who is rattled? Are you waking into a darker dream? Leonard Cohen wakes up to use the bathroom and falls on his head. Walter is saying, the Electoral College is hanging on. You are praying, someone is crying. There's hope and hoping. No one is listening. You enter the new, darker wood. Dream and darker. You want it darker? So inside the dream, within the dream, Tiny Titan is elected president, and Leonard falls out of bed, is pronounced dead by the next morning. In the dream, your mama's legs crouch forward in a half lotus. She's pontificating or saying, I pray you are someone else, still herself being unrecorded, yet not in the picture or changing content, illuminated, hair dyed orange, no content blank, no image available. There's a facing orange on a screen, static. He's so orange, your neighbor tells you, drinking too much red wine at the bar with you. You blink again, he's very orange. You can't ignore the televised radiance. Damn sheets inside the stream, you are strangled. Wake up! This is not a real dream, nor a real election. This cannot be, for we have an electoral college. What is its job but to save us from the demagoguery of radiant orange blobs? You have a product called Angry Orange. It gets rid of the dog urine. Will it work on the stench of the toxic Titan moon? Beneath the darker dream, you pull off the sheets. This false comforter of sleep is your fake new adventure. It's singing you here. America, America, land of Cheetos and Pop-Tarts. How you ate as a child, orange and meek. Oh, stay sweet asleep, sweet. We are all in deep, deep sleep. Glenda's in silk underwear, wrapped in the holy sheets of sacred discourse. A speech, but you cannot breathe. The next morning, into the long tube of the dream, a woman looks harsh. like the female colleague who in the dream flies to a wilderness called Ireland, now a U-shaped South Pacific island. She sends you back recorded Celtic music tapes. Thanks to your memory dialing in rage, you cannot fall asleep, but you are falling asleep into a state of despair. You scream to your goodnight Walter, my love, my daddy figure, where the fuck are you? Can you fix this screen, this network chaos? I'm inside the inside of the dream. Darkling, the networks are very bleak, but bodies are symbols. It matters that a president can have a vagina. You can barely hear Walter. His voice is on remote. The dream is in playback mode. It's analog time and you can't stop. The microwave, grilling the casserole box, you eat your Campbell's soup, it's all in the space cupboard. And Glenda says the cans make good hair rollers. We need women in outer space like a hole in the southern hemisphere. This is Walter's true view. You think he's a dictator. For the toxic moon, they cancel school. Like a putter of snowflakes, you know this is not a blizzard of tears. At least one young woman is bawling in your classroom. Walter discreetly shows big tears rolling. It's a disaster for women, but toxic masculinity wins the ice skating contest and writes the unbearable ice of being. The dreams fall upon your lightness in the simulacrum of the dark moon. Hawaii chooses this moment to have a fake nuclear drill. You think your friend is blown up. The nuclear codes are in tiny toxic hands. He shows you his hands on TV. He's pawing for disaster. He's bothering women's vaginas. He's chasing dictators like a bitch in heat. He's inserting his long tail rod into the smallness reach. The Republicans all crow. It makes the butter spread better on the bread. But the issue currently is how to stop the flow of debris. The undiscreet spectacle is crumbling. You like your toast clean, not diseased. It's still a dream. Falling, you are falling.
Laura, you who range near and far with words, and what came before words attend, what do you reckon the relation between the poetic continuum and this historic U.S. election?
Well, on one hand, poetry is a language, and it's a language about itself, not much else. But language is what makes us human, and there are different kinds of uses of language. There's Donald Trump's use of language from his high Twitter throne. Great, very great. Bad, very bad. And that kind of binary use of language is what sustains his position. It's what a lot of Americans seem to want, that kind of binary simplicity. But poetry is a language that divides the divide and twirls it into various kinds of pretzels. It challenges us to think, and it challenges us to form new forms. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm looking for some of that pandemic peanut butter. You know, the crunchy kind that don't follow no script, that special kind of pandemic kind of peanut butter. They got it on sale, no mask, I'm saying. You get 4, you get 3 free, you get 9, you get 2 more. That pandemic kind of super sale, crunchy, organic. No fat, no bones, no term limits. That special pandemic kind of comb over. I'm talking fresh out the mouth, certifiably complicit and organic kind of nepotismic endemic kind of style. You know, the crunchy kind of, that special ISO boom boom honey grabbing by that special kind of Kit Kat in a plastic plastic jar, not glass. Don't crack that. Skin won't black that. Special kind of peanut butter. Better genes got that better kind of DNA. You know the way. Why, damn it, got that kind of way. Pay me once, fool me twice. Pay him off pandemic kind, where the chunk starts in the system. How they train those chunks in the system? Good old kind of 5-penny bag. Buy your own pandemic kind of crunchy bag. You got that? Looking for them indigenogo hunters, knuckle groups, and similiac endemic e-bot fodder. Where you keep that stash? You know, the crunchy stash, like using them laws for liftoff. I'll sign that order with my homespun, deep-seated, ambidextrous, monofilamental pandemic whitewash. How you gonna keep him down with that crunchy butter, penile electric, PPE, PPJ, gold mental, GOP? Get that anti-crunch injected molecular factor into my fascia. Oh, my nitty pacifist, witness my whiteness. I'm a PPJ narcotic selfie-jism in the house for that crunchy pandemic kind of mess. Clean up denial on aisle 2020, isolated like it's going out of stylistic ambivalence. Your forte, missing reason with a few brain cells. Get that pandemic kind of crunchy peanut butter, talking that take no prisoners, come over kind of dictating pandemic dick man. Like smooth and crunchy pre-man, pre-much, you know. Damn it, mama man, oh my nitty, give me a pen, I'll sign that order. Oh, crunchy peanut butter, cheap demic and nut certified karma, that special kind of rally wearing tater tot. Think he said that from my head, that don't think that below. Some of that grab that pee hole butter, damn that pandemic roll, get weight out of V. That virus to you, sir, kind of crunchy late night, all up on my chi. That crunchy pandemic kind of chi, you got that? This poem is called, that poem has no title. This poem is titled, How to Breathe Underwater. Where's the mic? There's the mic. Where's the camera? There's the camera. Where's the poet? That's the question. How to Breathe Underwater, the Pandemician's reprisal. What loves you, what leaves you? The last wave of consciousness begins the first, where men come to towns they don't live in, and poets use blood for skin. I am to change the world. I am to change the world nothing. I am to change the world. I am to change the world nothing. And of the third wave, where virus claims body privilege at the end of the march, the collective mouth, thunder ghost, top of the mount, lightning flash, top of the cup, that faraway clap from the mother tongue. Landscape of a curve on fire, landscape of a flattening fire, landscape of a mouth on fire, landscape of a fire been quiet too long. Landscape of the word fire becoming the word quiet. Begin with a forehead, pick up a thought. Thinking is movement, so is uncomfort. Organize a gathering, invite the power structure to the mic, to the pandemic. Interrupt them when they speak. That's the closest you'll ever get to change. Knee-deep in the 8th wave, 14th wave, 8th wave, 14th wave. What defends you, what defunds you. I am a word reword by me. I am a word reword by me. I am a word reword by me. Combine text maker with sound maker with direction maker to create conflict between what's broken down and what's new. You create conflict and broken and down. This isn't something new. Body, something new. This isn't something new. New creates the arc. What's broken is you. What reframes you, what arrived for you, and of the 7th wave of fear and recollection, of spiritual tentacles as animalians, of literacy as an act of language, spelling out the sound of your evolution, of a people's spillage, of a host visiting a body it doesn't want. What opposes you, what broke you, and of conflict as idea, pre-wave numeric, of ways we don't speak to each other when we step into new ways, of gather as form, as word, rehealed, the massive aquarine intelligence to direct all followers as their own. Isolation leaves a surrounding contour. Vibration of the gathered following grows heavy. No need to respond if you're already light. Where do you hold your weight? 39th wave, 40th wave, 39th wave. What is the sound of gravity following a fist? What does asphalt do to a skull? How does bone on bone work, patella on thorax, vertebrae upright for hours? Been walking for something to walk on. Intention coagulates the ephemeral. Unshakable acquiescence of nightshade, neon in my breath, nocturne a cappella, inferno in my lungs. Did you blink? In solidarity with the mob who blink good news in the 6th wave, where sadness is considered bad news, when is corpse vibration 11th wave? Did you spill a body bag full of ink over the front page of a newspaper and call it protest or art or the Nubian normal? Don't browbeat, stay subtle. Don't browbeat, stay subtle. 13th annihilation, amarinda corpuscle. What mediates you immediates you. Solidarity with what? The human race? To stand with implies against, unless everything is with. Everything is with. Our relationship to collaboration is how we meet it. With air, with skin, with is. Let creation, destruction rule motion for action. In solidarity with vibration. All bodies are lit with vibrational forces. All bodies are solid, permeable ether. All air remaining upper respiratory solidarity. Lower bronchial solidarity. Follicle local autonomy. Mutation is a wave. Every dismembered particular, every misunderstood difference, every fear of them against us is with. 300th wave, I see you. I was born to hear you. I don't hear you. I was taught to hear you. Did you see the fracture, how deep it is, how it ruins the furniture, how we keep sitting on it? What is it to get used to a broken home, to live in the thing you broke, unfixed? Wave 670 watt, did you smell sky's incision as placement? How sun released its name for us to borrow as death? Onoma, 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 onoma. And what of the stamen, diagonal for pistol? And what of the corpex, domiciled insurrection? And what of the too much to say in the about to be moment? 9th wave as destruction of a flower. 9th wave as chaos of a flower. 9th wave as scent for colonial apparitions. Collective drowning shapes my breath to live in your mouth. What serves you, what saves you? 10th wave as intersectionality. 11th wave as doctrine for serenity. Did you lose your count after wave 1000? Or are these waters where the boat picks up the matter, the lives, the names we get tired of saying? We get tired of saving. We don't get tired of saving. We don't get tired of saying. We get tired of naming. We don't, we name. We them, we name. The work is in the unfolding. Naming darkness, something we can see. No home unbroken, no home given. 45th wave as apology. Do you sleep okay and cold? Does the air reach you in mind? What marks you? What makes you? Questions that don't belong in poems have been permeating my consciousness lately. How to settle into the frame so my eyes can close, into the dissonance, into the allowing for error that I nurture for sanity, for ancestral mobility, my motion in this world that matters, my voice that reaches this world that matters, my sorrow for what it is to belong in language. Mesami, mekami, terami, how do I take out the raw and leave the body intact? We're almost done here, not with civilization, but with the poem. I should edit this, I should shorten this, but the 60-second wave is my name. Is there sorrow in belonging? Am I allowed to claim that? There were people reminding me, onoma name me, monoma name me, mosoma made me, onoma lingua, kosoma lingua. There were people tonguing me, mother tonguing me, my mother tone, telling me who I was, what I was supposed to be, what I was supposed to do in my mother tone. What is my mother tone? Tongue tone, tongue tone, tongue tone, tongue tone, tongue tone, tongue. What patterns you, what shapes you? There were people, could not any be me, telling me how I was walking, where I was supposed to go. There were people, some of them right here, telling me that each wave is the last. I am the about to be. 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 This repetition came to me. I give to you for erasure. To live how I live, letter by letter. Remove what you want. Reveal what you need. You are the about to be. 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 Thank you.
Edwin, you who range near and far with words, And what came before words? Attend. What do you reckon the relation between the poetic continuum and this historic U.S. election?
Well, the relationship between, it's funny that you ask. I have an answer. The relationship between the poetic continuum and this dividing, defining U.S. election is that an election could be defined as a division brought together. Both division and definition are continuums explored and heralded in the investigation of language that is poetry. I think as language makers, as the ones who evolve humanity's expansion, our job is to seek where in chaos, where in peace, where possible, in the times that shape us, can we make new forms. So our role in the electoral process is to evolve transparency. Poetry's job is to explore, side by side, the awaiting change, to inform direction, to reveal what's already there. It's in the parsing together of time, in the reshaping of our impending ecoasis, where poetry's ability for transformation is most brazenly attuned and ignited. To align languages, to lay a palimpsest over civilization, that's our continuum as poets. Thank you.
We're closing. We're so close. We're here, even. And William Blake is here. And the first words, and the last words, and the words that we live within are here with thanks to David Shell. I wish you could see David Shell. I wish David Shell were here beside us, and he is, and he's made this all possible. Thank you, David. Thank you, William Blake. Thank you, all of us. Thank you. Michael, thank you.
The last word today is vote. Vote.
Vote.
Poet, you who range near and far with words, and what came before words? Attend! What do you reckon the relationship between the poetic continuum and this defining U.S. election?
Yeah, many thanks again to Bruce Weber and to Joanne Weber for making the burning question, which we've all felt, and we're all holding inside of our hearts that will soon crack open and produce the orc.
Thank you, Sam, for doing so much to put this together. And thanks to all of our readers who gave their all.
Yeah, good night, everybody.
Night.
Thank you for being here.